Morena, everybody. This morning we are going to continue looking at various different film techniques before we start looking more in depth at a particular scene or two from the Truman Show tomorrow. So today, let's look at today's tasks. You're already watching today's screencast lesson. Now, complete all work from previous lessons. I'm still waiting on about 4 book cover final versions, and I've emailed you and your parents about that this morning. I'm still waiting for a couple of people to complete the Truman Show quiz, but on the whole, that's some really good work there. I can see that the vast majority of you know the film well now, and that's great. 1 or 2 still need to go back and do it again to get over that 25 out of 30 mark. Okay, the Truman Show questions from yesterday, that was quite a long list, and they're really important questions because they get you thinking about when it is that you first start to realize that that Truman's world is a bit weird and artificial, and I wanted you to think about those and provide answers. So please do those questions. Answers to the questions will be posted here on this page. In the afternoon, the evening, you can keep checking back to see about marking those questions. Finally, for tomorrow, please learn those first 10 words of your spelling list for a quiz tomorrow. I'm also going to put up a Kahoot for you guys to do over the weekend on the Truman Show. That'll go up tomorrow. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the camera techniques, the film techniques that I want to look at. So I actually left you a few days ago to continue working through these camera techniques. We looked through the basic shots together, and then I asked you to look at these ones on your own. And so I hope you have. And I hope that you have taken notes so that you can remember, so that when I talk about a panning shot, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to go through these in detail. I've left them up to you to read through to make sure you know what those things are. Now, editing. Editing is a really important process because it's choosing what comes next in a scene. Because obviously a film is made up of hundreds, if not thousands, of shots, one after another. And the whole art of choosing what you're going to move from next is part of what a really good director is good at. They choose, what are they going to show? What does the director want to show? He wants to show at that moment the feelings of a character. So there'll be a shot straight to a close-up. And all those choices have to be made. And so it's a really important art. And the cut is the most frequent transition. Film jumps to the next scene. Okay, I want you to read all those. There are different kinds of transitions between scenes as well. There's these things called fades. There's dissolves. There's wipes. So these are all different ways of going from one shot to the next. I will refer to some of these as we look in more detail at Truman Show scenes. Montage is important. This is a series of shots in quick succession to suggest a whole lot of activity or the passing of time. Very clever way of just getting us through a patch of time so that the viewer knows that time has passed. Okay, now this is an important term, mise en scène. In French, it's actually mise en scène, but in English we say mise en scène. And this is just a word that we've borrowed from the French, because the French were very influential in the early days of filmmaking. And this just means everything that has been placed within a frame. So it's the choice of absolutely everything. It includes the set design, properties, the things that the characters are using or holding, the placement of characters, and the lighting. And so you can get scenes which tell such a huge story just in one shot. So take a look at this one, which you should have seen the other day. So this is a carefully placed, carefully organized shot. It's not just happened by accident, where we've got all the people on the right who are in cages and the police on the left walking away that way, and these people at the back here clearly about to be added to the people in the cages, and the grim setting of people being dragged away from their domestic, their apartment blocks. They're rather grey and dismal apartment blocks. It's a pretty grim scene, and there's a lot in it, and that's what it's a very clever use of mise en scène, very clever use of choosing what to put in that shot. Okay, lighting. Now, we're going to talk a bit about lighting in the Truman Show, and I would like you to take notes on these. So pause this video while you get your red exercise books, please. And could you make a title, lighting in the Truman Show? Okay. Because there are some important things to take on board. Take a look at this scene. I'm not sure what film this is from, but what kind of lighting is it an example of? It's high key lighting. Please write that down. And the definition is multiple sources of light, and it creates a bright and open feeling scene. I'm just going to jump back to show you different sources of light. There is quite a lot of light, especially at the back there, but there's also light coming from the front. It's open and bright. So pause it if you need to take the notes. Now, complete contrast is this scene. Surprisingly, this is called low-key lighting, where only a few or a single source of light is there. Shadow and darkness dominate the frame. This can create an atmosphere of menace, danger, or uncertainty. Please write that into your books as well. Here's another shot. Now, what can we see there? You're kind of getting a bit of both, aren't you? And this is called, so you've got the light area at the back and the dark area at the front. This is called high contrast lighting. And this is when high key and low key lighting are used in different areas, but they're featured within the same shot. So what is the purpose of this? Remember, every kind of shot that is chosen by the director has a purpose and a function that he or she is exploiting and using it for. So in high contrast lighting, it can be used to juxtapose spaces or suggest duplicity. Sometimes you get that when one half of a character's face is lit up. So in The Dark Knight, is it The Dark Knight? We have that character whose face is quite different from the other. Here's an example of another person with light and dark face. And that kind of gives us this impression that this character may not be entirely trustworthy at that point in the film. There's just a little bit of unsettled feeling about a character whose face is half in the dark. It's a very clever way of giving us signals about the character's potential motives. Okay, now we're going to look at something else which is important. Color. So color is something we will talk about a bit as well. Lighting. Color is to do with lighting with particular tones. when you're colouring a particular scene. And colours over hundreds of years of art and literature in Western culture have become symbolic. And actually, in other cultures, different colours have different meaning. So we're talking particularly about Western culture when we look at these kinds of things. The colour of filters, lights, and objects can be symbolically significant. And actually, this has got a yellow tone. And a yellow tone traditionally makes us feel that it's a little bit, there's something a little bit sick going on with a character if there's a lot of yellow lighting. Okay, and very quickly, costume. Now, costume, actually, believe it or not, is a film technique, and it's not particularly important in the Truman Show, but it's something to consider. Clothing worn by characters can be symbolic, and they can give us an insight into the character or convey something about their situation, their power and their confidence, their vulnerability, so on. Okay, and here's an example. Obviously, if you've got a particularly historic setting, costuming is really important in a film to give us that flavor of setting and the era and the way people used to treat each other in those eras, and it will come out in the film. So those are particular examples of costuming. Sound. So I'm hoping that you have written notes about all these things, the lighting, and costuming and sound. Sound is a really important language feature in film, so a film technique. And remember these two terms, diegetic and non-diegetic sound. Please write this into your books. Diegetic sound has a source within the fictional world of the film. So that means the characters can hear that sound. So obviously the kinds of sounds we're talking about are the created sounds within that world, and dialogue is diegetic sound as well, the things that are said. Non-diegetic sound does not have a source within the fictional world of the film and is usually added during post-production. This includes voiceover. I'm going to just add to this. Music, sound effects. These are all the things that the characters within the film, cannot hear. Okay, good. So please take notes on these things. Dialogue. Finally, dialogue is an important film technique. It's the words that a character says is very they are very powerful in indicating what a character is like. Obviously what is happening, about the plot as well, but what a character is like and the important ideas behind a film. Dialogue is an important indicator and of all those kinds of things. So it is considered a film technique. It's used for exposition, explaining a background for the on-screen action, but also to give the audience insight into a character and their thoughts and feelings. Okay, so that takes us to the end of our list of basic film techniques that you need to have in your mind as we start analyzing the film. And so just a reminder about the things that I've asked you to do today. You've watched the screencast lesson and you've taken some notes. Please do take notes. It helps in your learning. Finish your previous work, learn your spelling words for tomorrow. And I look forward to going through a scene with you in more detail tomorrow on a screencast lesson as well. Thank you. Have a great day.